Oh, hi, Lisa.
Oh, hi, Stanley. I didn't see you there. Can I have some more water?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, what you do?
Spilling water on myself? Oh, and I'm also checking out the channel videos. Yeah, we've come a long way, you know? We're at 45 subscribers now.
Yeah, that's impressive. Hey, can you get me some more water?
Oh, sure. I was just getting my cold some.
Oh, hey, thank you.
Hey, you know what?
What?
We should make a special episode of Caffeinated DragonWare where we look back on our progress so far.
Oh, hey, good idea. Cheers to that.
Alright. You okay?
No. I'm dying. So for the second episode, after we'd done the brainstorming, I went ahead and had to design the characters and create a solid aesthetic for the game. At first, I was going to go with a long, spindly sort of character. I think I was heavily influenced by Invader Zim or the works of Tim Burton, where the characters are all very tall and lanky. However, that didn't turn out so well because once I scaled it down to the size that you would have on a phone, a lot of the detail was lost and it wound up looking pretty ugly. So instead, I had to make the character more squat and stubby looking, like especially you'll notice that in the legs. I left the arms alone and it sort of came out really goofy, but it allows for a lot of gesture and motion with the character. I think I was also subliminally influenced by the Far Side Gallery by Gary Larson, where the eyes are actually part of the nose ridge in a lot of characters, that is, whenever he doesn't draw glasses on them. Apart from that, what you see is what you get. I just went for a very cartoony aesthetic, and then Lisa approved it.
I sure did.
She did.
Alright, so for Devlog 3, or Episode 3, it was my very first time using Unity, so I was really just learning the basics, and in that time I was trying to also get the character to move using a touchscreen. I had to use a few tutorials to get that to work. The tutorial I ended up following, it was a spaceship, and it could be either in the middle, left, or right. Now, with the game that we have, the character can be in 5 different places, and I also had to account for swipes up and swipes down. A lot of it was the diagonals, so I had to account for diagonals because no one's gonna swipe perfectly up or perfectly sideways every time. So I had to make a decision for whether it would count it as up or sideways, like how far up they could swipe before it's considered an up.
Right. And if you want to see how she did that, you can check out that devlog. Alright, so for episode 4, we're back to me where I had to rig up the characters as, like, puppets in my favorite animation program that I cannot stop gushing about, which is Toon Boom Harmony. The idea with the gushing all over the place. So the idea was to rig up the puppets with individual pieces like head, hair, ears, fingers. Each individual finger has its own poses it can be in, for example. And the idea behind that is to make it super customizable if we want to do DLC and have different costumes the characters can be in. And also so that I could easily create a sister version of the brother character, and the only changes really made were no cape, slight changes to the hair, and the dress. Everything else was the same bone structure, and it's just replacing the drawings. Everything starts out with the torso and spreads out from there, as like a skeleton in real life does.
Halloweeny.
Very Halloweeny and neat, them with bones and spooky stuff.
Alright, which brings me to Devlog 5, or Episode 5, where I had to add enemies. So, I had a few issues with this. I had 2 of Alexander's tutorials for this. So he had one where the person would spawn, and it would just stay there. So it started off like bowling pins. Then I had them spawn on different sides of the stage, so I have one spawn on the left, one spawn on the right. It would switch each time, so it's never the same spot each time. And then I had it go towards the opposite point. So if the enemy spawned on the left, it would go towards the right, and if it spawned on the right, it would go towards the left. That took a bit because there were times where it was just kind of like flipping randomly with some of the early tests where it was just like it didn't really know where to go. It kept turning around.
Oh gosh.
So that was a fun time.
That sounds fun.
Eventually they walked from point A to point B and then died at point B.
Yes. Killed in a blazing furnace that you have hidden just off stage, right?
Of course.
Yes. The only way to do it.
Yes.
And then for devlog number 6, that's back to me again with the music. The problem is when I'm trying to do custom music, I always start out with a melody. Like sometimes I can't come up with a melody because I'm like trying really hard to tinker around with things and it's just not being inspired. That fail that you saw at the start of devlog 6, that fail you saw, was when I was staying up to 11 o'clock at night trying to get a melody going, and I got way too fancy with like odd time signatures and trying to work in a unique key and make it sound super cool, and no. Instead, I like having Lisa hum things to me randomly because she'll come up with like song ideas in the shower or when she's walking around or whatever. And she can just send me like short little snippets of a melody, and that really gives me the groundwork to work off of and build off of for like a full-on song. Give me one right now. Okay, I'll do that next. That'll be the next song. I guarantee you that'll be included.
Good old number 7. That was one of our first short devlogs. I just really wanted to make it really fast-paced. I had the idea of spawning the character wherever the player wanted to be spawned instead of just the middle of the stage every single time. The reasoning behind this is at some point we're gonna have it so that the enemies are acting out a scene, and if one of the enemies is in the middle of the stage, you don't want to land on their head, so you know you can change where you land. It was the hardest thing about that was not getting it to spawn, but getting it to register where I was touching the touchscreen every single time was difficult because Unity was using its own system and the code was using its own system. Like, they was taking data right from the touchscreen, so if you're using like a standard 1080p touchscreen, it's gonna pass in a value like, I don't know, if you're on like the edge of the screen, like 1900, right? And Unity's expecting like 3.
It's a bit overkill.
So, you know, it was that sort of issue was the biggest thing. I had to come up with a mathematical formula to fix that using trial and error. I was pretty proud of it, to be honest. I didn't look up a tutorial at all for that one devlog. I was so happy.
Yay! Yay!
Alright, so devlog number 8 was the first time I called it a mini devlog, but that one I added a score feature, so every millisecond the player would get a point. If you like lost the game, it would show on the game over screen, and if you hit the try again button, which I had added at that point, it would let you, you know, try again, and if you got like a lower score than you did last time, the other score would be shown as a high score, and your score would be shown. I haven't gotten it to work where if you exit the app and open it again, it remembers, but as long as you're in the same session and you try again, it's fine. It works. Stanley also helped me update the UI on that, where we got a better version of the character selection screen, as opposed to just like the Unity defaults.
That's such an easy thing to do, is create new UI that's very good for like a temporary demo thing.
Yeah, I have to agree, like, Unity's buttons, they work, but they don't look amazing.
They're so corporate and bland.
Yes. Alright, so closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Well, first of all, what is our plans for the future? What about you on the coding side of things? What are you going to implement in the next few devlogs and goals for the demo and stuff?
Well, I'm not sure if you guys have seen my tutorial, but I was toying around with, like, pendulum-like props. So we have a sun and a moon, where the whole idea is they will swing across the stage, stop, and either come from the same side again or come from an opposite side at a later point, and this is just for the difficulty. I finally finished it. It'll be maybe in the next devlog, or maybe the one after, I'm not sure. So down the road, I'm going to add all of the different obstacles individually. Right now when you play the game, it's just going to be the enemies, but later on we're going to have those pendulum props I mentioned. We're going to have falling props. I haven't started on those yet, but that's next on the list. And then finally we're going to have some tomatoes from the audience, which should be fun.
And then once that's all tied into the difficulty meter, that would be a complete demo, wouldn't it?
Then yes, that would pretty much be where we'd want it. Then we can focus on features like the shop for like currency that you might get at the end of the game, or just adding the currency, figuring out how many points, a lot to how much currency, rewards and stuff like that, so you can change your outfits.
And then I can start working on like final artwork.
Yeah.
Speaking of artwork, when you're done with the rough demo stuff and we at least know what we'll be using, I will go in there and start creating like alternate costumes and stuff. I already did a sample one for a Halloween post just for social media, but I plan on actually using it, where like the characters will get custom animations and custom costumes that you can download and buy from the store. That's like a fair thing to sell, like for cheap stuff or whatever, or for points you exchange in game. So anyways, yeah, that's what I plan on working on, and yeah, it'll be really fun in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Hope you like what you saw here, and be sure to subscribe.
And check out all the videos that we reviewed in this video.
And remember, we upload every other Saturday.
Until next time, guys, bye! Sweet.
That's good.
That's good. Alright. We're done with all the filming.